Hello, evolving beings. Well, today's the day we take a look at those depression inventory questionnaires that you completed and help you do a self assessment. So, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the participants, those who sent their scores in, those who were suffering, those I was able to help with some very quick energy detachments, clearings, and pushing you forward. It's so fun to be able to see you thrive. So, what I'm going to talk about is if you went and listened to the video entitled But I'm Depressed and went through and followed the instructions to go to the Beck Depression Inventory Scale, which does have 21 questions, and completed it. At the very bottom of it, it will give you a score. And what we're going to discuss today is the score. Now, again, I highly recommend if you are feeling depressed or low or not great and just can't figure out what to do, go do this assessment and do it first before I share with you the answers, because it's an incredibly valuable tool to really get to know where you are at. And I also want to say, of course, if you are suicidal, there is a suicidal video, and you would reach out to your professional or call 911 and do what it is that you feel you need to do. But remember, a whole portion of my work is actually eliminating the sections of illness, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, and being able to alleviate them so we can go forward and live wonderful, free, expressive, creative lives the way that we were supposed to do, versus numbing or dumbing ourselves down with addictions or with pills or with other things, even if they are prescribed. I never want you to think that I am making light of any topic. But some of these topics are so very heavy that, yes, I will lighten up with a joke or an example or something like that. Do not be offended. Do not take it personally, understanding that I am purposely lightening the heaviness. Remember, I worked with kids with cancer, and believe it or not, we did laugh and love along the way. We took the worst scenarios, including death, and we worked with them. And when you do that, when you embrace every single split second that you have, your life becomes a series of miracles. And I want you to have those miracles. I also want to clarify, I'm not giving psychological advice. I'm not giving medical advice. You are doing this self-assessment on your own free will. But remember, I was clinically trained. I did all the standardized IQ testing from Stanford Binet. I did the Rorschachs. I administered DAPs. You name it, I was trained. I did it. Eventually, I came upon a way to get away from testing because a lot of the testing is already predisposed. If I could tell you some of the questions that were in the Stanford Binet IQ test that we had to answer, you wouldn't believe it, because they're literally limiting the person's ability. It's the same way why I was never fond of multiple choice. I could never get behind so many of the classes that I taught at university, because they literally gave you a book and they told you what tests you were supposed to administer. And it was so convoluted that I started to realize even more how all the structures were created. And even I am horrible at taking multiple choice questions, because in order to put me into an A, B, C, or D, when I'm thinking 10 dimensions above is pretty hysterical. I just can't think that way. So don't worry if you don't fit into the mold. Don't worry if you're not quote unquote normal. As a matter of fact, friggin' embrace it. It makes you even more incredible than you were before. But what I'm concerned about here is that people are pushing themselves into the box of depression. And if you are telling your body and your being that you're depressed, please understand you will be depressed. But we don't need that any longer. We are able now to be free. So if you did the test, here goes. The score goes from 1 to over 40. Now, the first thing that I want you to do, add up, look at your score. When you add up the score, if it was, no matter what the score was, I want you to start by taking 10 points off. Why am I asking you to take 10 points off? The bottom line is we're in an ascension cycle. This cycle literally pushes your soul, pushes your body, pushes your growth so far that everything needs to fall apart around you before you can restabilize. So of course you're going to have a lot of things going on. Of course you're going to feel differently, and we'll look at some of those. So the minute that you take off 10 points, what you find is, and the way that I work, any score that is 40 and above in the past means that you have a chemical imbalance that is affecting your physical body organically. The thing I talked about, the synaptic gap, neurologically, physiologically, you have something physical going on possibly, which is keeping you in a form of depression, which is how you've been convinced to take medications. And or B, and do not get afraid, you have had a negative entity attachment or some other things that you are pulling in that are keeping you trapped. If the score is that, then I highly recommend you do find a homeopathic individual or an individual who simply does disentanglements, which means that they're going to clear your energetic field to remove any negative attachments. Now, if you are suicidal, go back to that video, because there are other things that potentially could be going on. And there's other beautiful things that could mean, because you've hit rock bottom and there's only going up for there. And for those of you who I said in that video who have lost someone to suicide, it was shocking. It is horrible. It is tragic. It is difficult to move through. But it was their soul contract, and it will help them boost up in the higher dimensions and resolve the things that they needed to resolve and not be in pain. All right, going back to your scores. So severe depression, which Beck Depression Inventory Scale was being defined as 31 to 40, and extreme depression was over 40. Again, once you knock that score down, then you know your depression is actually not chemically, organically a depression. It's not physical. So if your depression is not physical, why are we taking medications for it? Why are we taking medications to then sleep? Why are we taking medications that are supposedly helping your serotonin reuptake inhibitors? Why are we taking those other MAOs when it's not a physical issue? So I want you to seriously think about that and think about how you might live your life should you decide to carefully move from depression medication onto freedom. And as I said in my other video, with some of these, it takes a few weeks to get into your system before it starts to build up. So yes, I used to use the entire process of weaning people off, inserting herbs, and then working with somebody until they no longer need it. I'm going to say again, it does not need to be this difficult any longer. What a beautiful gift. There are ways to detach, clear, and move on and not have to go through all of the drama and trauma and therapy that people have been through before. Now, in the old days, if you were 21 to 30, you had moderate depression. If you were 17 to 20, you had borderline clinical depression. And what's sad is when this was done, we were literally taught and trained that borderline clinical depression was a very serious level of depression, when technically it was more of a mental trap, a way of allowing your mind to control your actions and your belief. And because we've been so lied to in our systems, it makes it very difficult to discover what the truth is. And when your soul can't feel and find truth, it gets confused. And when it gets confused, it gets depressed. It can't sleep, it gets agitated, it doesn't know what to do. So this is why I am saying emphatically, every illness disappears when your soul can break free to do what it needs to do. So now, if you look at that 17 to 20 borderline clinical depression to 21-30 moderate depression, and you knock those 10 points off, understand you automatically lower yourself down to a mild mood disturbance. The significance of this is that many have mild mood disturbances. You don't need to go pop a pill for that. Because the fact is that when you are growing in the ascension process, you get aches and pains and you feel good one moment and then you don't know what you're doing with your life the next, and all of a sudden you're in this huge void, and then you're trying to work out and move out of old situations and lies and things that aren't good for you. So welcome to the process of working through your shadow and letting things go. I will tell you that pretty much everyone who sent information to me fell in between the 17 to 20 score, the borderline clinical depression. Why? Because they're going through this process. So if you fell between 17 and 20, you're going to knock 10 points off and you're going to realize you are just going through the normal things that happen in ascension. And if you have had anything significant, like you walked out of a karmic relationship, you walked away from all your belongings, your house, or you're living in a car, or all of these other things, those are so monumental that the strength that you have shows that you have overridden any obstacle. And therefore, don't even bring the word depression into your life. It doesn't exist any longer. You have overcome. So keep walking, keep being strong, keep letting go. And yes, everybody right now, no matter how strong we are, no matter how much we channel, no matter how many healings we do, no matter how incredible we are, we literally will go through these energetic phases because our DNA is upgrading and it is releasing and letting go of the things that no longer serve us so we can create our new universes. I hate to tell you guys, you're going to feel it. But you are doing yourself a great disservice if you are going to medicate that. Go back and listen to why medicating Ascension symptoms is not, it's counterproductive. So when you are working to bring your true soul essence to the surface, your mind ego is going to trap you as quickly as it can because it doesn't want to let go. It knows what it knows. It's going to control. It's going to take over wherever it can because that's the only thing it understands. It understands that A and B is C. That's how it's been trained. It's been trained by society. It's been trained by you. And therefore, the mind's going to hang on. No. If I let go of all of that, how am I going to survive? Meanwhile, soul's like, let it go. Be a free spirit. Come join me in the joyous world that we're creating. You need at this point to go back and now really peel that onion. If you are scoring in the higher levels of depression, peel the onion. And what you're doing is you are literally saying in every little thing that you do, does this serve me? Do I like it? Why am I continuing to do it? If you are getting together for a group event just because you've always done it, or a funeral or a wedding or whatever it may be, but you know it's going to leave you completely depleted and you no longer resonate there, walk away. Make an excuse. I'm not fond of lying, but you need to be protected. Turn around and just say at the moment you can't do it for whatever reason. Don't create drama. Don't pull any negativity towards you. Just don't do it. Walk on. Do you know who the most important person is right now? It's you. And do you know how many times I say if you save you, nobody needs saving? I mean it. So you're going to look at the job that you're doing. You're going to look at what your dreams are. You're going to take a look at what your personality is. Is it time to let go of parts of those personality that don't serve you any longer? Why are you hanging in complaints and negativity? When you evolve to higher dimensions, there is such joy, there is such love that you can let people be whoever they want to be and you just keep rolling along. And that is a wonderful feeling. That's how you move into healing modes. That's how you can actually heal others. Because in your loving detachment, you know how to send energy, but not let it trap you down. If I would have known this 20 years ago and earlier, when I used to work with kids with cancer and I used to do therapy for the longest time, I felt the burden of the world. My entire life was engulfed in caring for others, but I didn't just care for them. I threw my whole self into them. And while I'm so happy that I did not know what balance was. This is how therapists get burned out. I, again, would never regret the stepping stones and the learning lessons, but may I say how wonderful it is to come into a point of yourself where you just know you heal. And there's no attachment to it. You're going to heal or you're not going to heal. If you're not healing, well, there's some little thing around you that you're still pulling back in. Not a big deal. Go back, clear it up. Don't hold on to it. And if that person is at a point in their life where it's their soul contract to go through it, you couldn't heal it no matter what you did. But even soul contracts right now are being upgraded. So there should be nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing can stop you if you allow yourself. And this is the reason why I wanted to go through in detail how this inventory, this depression inventory, is so wonderfully helpful. So some of the questions, of course, are how sad are you feeling? So these are related to what you think about. For example, do you cry on a drop of a hat? Do you feel just so sad that you can't function? Well, I'm going to throw another twist in. If you're crying on the drop of a hat, it's because you need to do a little purging. And that's fantastic. Go have a good cry. Not a good cry drama in front of everybody. My life is falling apart. That's all negativity crap. Let that go. Go into your little space. Have a good little cry. Let those beautiful tears purify your energetic field. Call in your angels and your star family. Get that out of your system. Go watch something funny. If you're feeling discouraged about the future, a little bit like a failure because you're not doing what you need to do, what's the answer? Your soul is not getting what it needs. So do a good soul analysis and start looking at what you need to let go of and drop. If you are holding any guilt, you're working in the lower frequencies. One day I will do a vibrancy level video so that you understand how that works. If you feel like you're being punished, well, you most likely came from a religious background and you want to drop that as quickly as you can, because the God, the real source, never, ever judges and tells you to do the same thing. You simply needed to go through these processes. And even the translation of the word sin, which you are made to believe that you have to go repent for, is a completely distorted scenario. You go to your source. You are a fractal of source, and you go there to resolve it. You don't need to pull in other people to do it for you. Even the angels, even the star beings, as I say, they are co-creating with you. They are not saving you. You save yourself. And yes, of course, there's all of us healers out here who are helping you. That's why I call myself a catalyst sometimes. Just pop up to the next level. And that's all wonderful, because if we do it for you, one day you'll do it for others. Now, the ones that are related to sleep, this is why I tell you, take your magnesium, make sure if even a little bit of CBD oil, sleep is really essential. But you're doing 80 billion things at night. You're popping onto ships, you're getting your DNA upgraded, you're going through lucid dreaming, you're going through dreams, you name it. You're popping through scenarios that are unbelievable. If you had to walk away from scenarios and situations and people and you never got to say goodbye, you will have 100 times the same scenario the same people pop up in your dreams, but all different scenarios, because your mind's trying to resolve it. If you're not feeling interested in what you're doing, what does it tell you? Do something else. Your soul isn't happy. You haven't pushed yourself. You haven't expanded. You've just accepted things the way they are. And that's not good enough for you any longer. Has your appetite changed? Most likely, yes, because our DNA is upgrading. We're becoming crystalline. You'll go through the funkiest things, I assure you. You will go from bad stomach aches to throwing up potentially to being able to eat fruit. And then you can't eat fruit. And then you're trying to do this and you're trying to do that. Just go with the flow. I went through a period of time where at one point, it was like I was a kid again. When I was a kid, the only thing I could eat for a period of time because of my sensitive stomach was mashed potatoes. So I had to go through a mashed potato phase because that's the only thing I could eat. And then I would try to eat fruit, and I always, you must hydrate. You must try to get the best water and put that love vibration into your water. But here is the trick. Never attach to the physical feeling that you're having. Because if you just say, oh, well, that's just another thing I'm going through, do you know what happens? It just leaves and you move on to the next one. But if you immediately attach to it and you convince yourself that this is something, oh no, this time this is really something. Oh, I'm getting a little older. This is really something. Hogwash. You're youthing if you want to. Tell your body that. And don't attach to anything. Because in the end, as you vibrate at the higher levels, there is no illness. And worse than that, some of the programming that we've been told, which are lies, are related to things like cancers that can be healed instantly, that are related to, look at the story I told you about Crohn's disease. Why did I have to suffer for 18 years? I want you to know you can be healed of anything and everything in shorter periods of time. And while this is not medical advice, start working on what your soul needs. Because the minute your soul is set free, everything else falls away. And you can go and live a beautiful, exciting, fantastic life. So I hope this has helped you. I hope you can understand and take a look at yourself. And for many who are suffering from the depression, it's where you get to the point that you start to look at your shadow side. And when you make friends with the darkness within you, with your shadow, or you go through what some people call the dark soul of the night, I like shadow side because, of course, I was a trained Jungian and started reading Carl Jung when I was, I think, 15, and worked on all the collective works of dreams and drawings and all of that stuff so young. And so when you start to face those parts of yourself, you start to realize why you've drawn the people into your life that you've drawn into, and they are often a reflection of you. So one of the best things to do is take a look around you and see the people you're hanging with. And if the reflection of the people you're hanging with is not who you want to be, then it's time to walk, time to find new life elsewhere. So, again, I know this was long. I thank you all so much. Do let me know what you're thinking, if this has helped you at all, if this has left you with more questions, which questions I can answer for you. I want this to be a growth experience for everyone. And for those light workers who are way past the depression and the dark night of the soul, then perhaps this whole exercise has helped you look at life in a different way so that you can now be the healer to others. Know that I love you from the bottom of my heart. Know that I want the best for each and every one. Please do hit that crazy like button, because if you haven't noticed, I'm getting, I don't know what the word is, like stopped, or put in a void, or who knows what. Like, subscribe, share, do all those things with social media I can't do, and have just the most beautiful and wonderful day. Love you.